Hello, 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 my loves. This is Diana, and welcome to the Nova Holistic Podcast, episode 14. So, let me tell you a little bit about this podcast and about me. Nova Holistic is brought to you by Diana Org, which is my business. My name is Diana, like I said. The business is a holistic health and well-being business. Um, if you go to the website is Diana.org. Um, on the website, you will be able to see all the podcasts that are available and already have aired. And there are some amazing conversations that I've had with people from all over the world, including today. Um, now, on the website, you will be able to explore how you can book sessions with me. They can be either traditional counseling, holistic counseling therapy sessions. I do them in person, but also online. In fact, primarily I work online. And secondly, you can book more specialized sessions, which are mentoring for spiritual awakening. So people that are going through that process of personal awakening can contact me and we can do some mentoring sessions. If you're not ready for one-on-one sessions, I also have some online self-paced programs available that you can purchase and do yourself, which will help you to and guide you through that process of personal development and self-awareness, and also help you with your holistic health and well-being with regards to your mental health, physical health, emotional health, and spiritual health, meaning your energetic body, your quantum self. Okay, so back to this episode. In this episode, I have a beautiful young lady that's going to join me. Her name is Anna Rodin, and she has just published, her ebook has just published, and the paperback is coming in 3 weeks' time. And the book is called For Your 20s. Let me introduce you to wonderful Anna. Hi, Anna. How you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Thank you so much for making the time to be here with us and to talk to me and our audience about who you are, how you got to be here, how you got to be to this point in your life where you felt inspired to write a book called For Your 20s. How fascinating. I can't wait to hear about this. So, to start off with, would you please introduce yourself to our audience and to me and tell us a little bit about whatever you think is most prevalent?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited for this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a new author. I am a college student. I'm a yoga teacher. I am lots of different things. There's a lot going on with me. um,
Good. Yep.
but really, I mean, I was brought to the point to write this book after going through a whole kind of mental health wellness journey myself. Um, and I had found myself living life a certain way, kind of a more traditional, rigid. I was very strict with myself, and very focused on doing what would look good externally to other people. And that just was not a sustainable way for me to be living, and eventually led to finding myself at a low point. I was super depressed, super anxious. I was still in school at my old school at the time, and it led me to drop out of school, move back home,
Wow.
and really dedicate, for me, about 5 months just to working on myself, going to therapy, doing the healing work, and all the inner work that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
And this book really emerged out of that time of what I learned, what the changes I made in my life, what I was learning from my therapist, other people in my life, research I was looking at, and yeah, I could see that a lot of the changes I was making were resonating with other people in my life, be that friends, family, people my age, people not my age. And so I
Wow.
put it all into a book.
Mm. That's really amazing. And instantly off the bat, I want to say the amount of courage it would have taken for you to do something like this is quite extraordinary for someone your age, to be honest, because I'm trying. I'm remembering to what it was like for me. I mean, my circumstances are maybe just a little bit unique. When I was a teenager, when I was 16, 17, I was an immigrant, my family and I had just moved to Australia.
Mm,
And so I found myself going from, a little town in Eastern Europe
mm,
of, population of 100,000 to Sydney, Australia, population several million,
mm,
foreign language, foreign city, everything was big, completely lost and grieving my old life. So in terms of those changes and that's completely relatable. But even then, I don't know whether I would have. I mean, I didn't necessarily have the kind of wisdom that I hear you say you had, um, to make those changes consciously. A lot of the things that I did were simply survival
yeah.
reactions rather than conscious changes.
Mm, mhm.
Yeah, so
And
it's quite
that's what
interesting.
I found myself doing that for
Right.
I probably would have continued doing that unless it wasn't until I got to that place where I was really forced to look at what wasn't working anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So do you know what the first thing that really just caught my, like, that was flagged for me? You said so. Oh gosh, hang on, I'm coming apart. Hang on, I'll just take that off. Um, didn't we talk about things happen as soon as camera rolls? You just got to roll with it and not even think twice about it. Let me just totally come apart on camera. Oh my goodness. um, all right, there then. I'll just move it all right along. Um, so, you had said something that really kind of was flagged for me when you started to introduce yourself, and you were talking. You said something about being really strict with yourself. Tell me about that a little bit more. I'm so curious about what that means and
Yeah.
what that looked like in your life.
For me, it meant, I was always focused on outward appearance, and I was very, on the outside, I was like the perfect kid.
Right.
I got the good grades. I was a good daughter, a good sister. I wanted to be there for everyone else. Um, but with
What age are we
that,
talking? Sorry, Anna. What age are we talking? What age group or range?
I mean, middle high school.
Which is what so just for
That's
those of us that don't know what middle high school
so
is.
like 7th to 12th grade.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, right, got
Yeah,
it. Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
7th to 11th, really.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but with that comes I didn't let myself show any emotion really. I didn't open myself up at all. I was very private, and I never wanted anyone to know anything was wrong. And I worked. I think in kind of fighting those feelings off. I mean, I overworked myself. I got into some bad habits. I was drinking a lot as a kid, and just really not sustainable ways of being.
Right.
So yeah, so that ultimately led to taking some
Mm-hmm.
time off and working on myself.
Now, I know you mentioned therapy before, so you would have this insight about yourself, but I'm wondering, looking back at your earlier life, if you're happy to share this, if not, we can move on, because this is an intimate conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm about to ask you an intimate question, is my point. How do you, get to a point of, like being so young, an early teenager, and running your life with a tape in your head that says you have to be perfect? Where does that belief system come from? Like, what is that?
I think a lot of it was self-imposed, but I definitely learned it from the adults in my life. My parents are both very career driven, so they weren't around too much as when I was a kid, and I have a younger sister. So I did a lot of helping to raise her. So I just from the get-go, I had a more serious outlook and a more kind of realistic outlook, I guess, on life.
Mm, got it.
And that definitely played a role.
Mm. Yeah, I would say so. Okay, so then you get to a certain point. Are you aware at any stage that what is happening with you is not the norm for a teenager?
Yes, but I didn't wanna acknowledge it. I think deep down I
Got it.
definitely knew, but I did not want to
Mm,
think about it at all. And I had been I mean, I definitely dealt with depression on and off. I've dealt with depression on and off since I was 11 years old. Um, not it was never super serious, not as serious as it was when I took time off of school, but it was there, and I was in and out of therapy all those years. So I was still I was aware of it.
mm,
But I never looked, as you said, I was in survival mode, so I was really just focused on kinda getting through it, and it wasn't until years later, when I was, out of the bubble I was in, I guess, and had lived on my own for a few years, that's when I could really look at kind of the root causes of
mm, yeah. And so you then mention um, about drinking. Tell me about that. What happened there?
That was, on the outside, I did not have a problem. Like, I think it was, we're high schoolers, so a lot of my friends, were going out to parties and, looking back, like, we were definitely young to be doing that.
Mm,
Um, and I mean, that led into college. It was just kind of from the outside, I was an average party girl, I guess. And
right.
but I knew for myself that I wasn't going out to have fun. It was more of an escape, more of a numbing.
Mm,
So I didn't let people in on that. I didn't tell people that. So from the outside, I wanted to have fun, but from the inside, I had a knowing that this was not to have fun. This was to kind of forget my problems for a few hours, you know? And
mm,
so and that really didn't, come to light for me, until I had my breakthrough, I like to call it.
mm,
Um,
mm,
and,
mm,
since then, I've definitely changed my habits, but it wasn't on my radar at the time.
mm. Do you, sorry, do you think that that most of your friends, okay, I'm going to give you some context, right? So I'm imagining that there's another young person listening to this conversation, right? And we are talking about, you had just literally used the sentence, I knew that I wasn't just going out to drink to have fun. I knew that it was to get away, or have some relief from my problems. Sorry,
Mhm.
I'm paraphrasing. I forget the exact word you used. Um, And I'm imagining another young person listening to this. And what I'm wondering about is, have you ever, just in the spirit of remembering that there's an audience, have you ever thought about or wondered whether um, most young people are more likely to be like you and they're drinking because they don't have the tools to deal with something, or it was just you and everybody else is just going out for fun?
I think
What
there's
do you
definitely
think?
a lot of young people who are like me.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of, shame and uncertainty around it, so no one talks about it, and I never talked about it. I never asked for help because I didn't think I needed help. And
Mm.
that's, I think, what the reality of it is that we think it's normal because no one's talking about it, and everyone is just kind of in it together, kind of.
Mm. Yeah. What is it about our societies that makes us think that going out to have a drink is like a good tool for problem solving? What is that?
I
Like
wish I
seriously,
wish I knew.
like what is it with our culture that alcohol has become the mental self-care tool? Like
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know, and that's why I do see a lot more, like, this term "sober curious" is thrown around a lot now, where, like, there
I've
is
never
more.
heard it. What
Oh,
is it?
good, okay. It's
I've
it's
never heard it.
sober curious. It's
So,
kind of
I'm sorry.
people, like, I know, people, like, my age into, like, late 20s, 30s are really experimenting with this idea of not drinking as much. More than in the past, I would say, and it's more of kind of it might be a fad, but I think it's a good fad, um,
Mm,
and a good kinda trendy thing to do, but it
mm.
is it that is, I talk a lot about, like, the pros and cons of social media, and I think that's definitely a pro where we're talking about these things a little bit more. I don't think necessarily
Oh.
at the younger ages when I was starting to do these things in, ninth grade, I don't think that's really a conversation still, but at least in, mid to late 20s, it's being talked about more.
Mm. And how old are you in ninth grade in America?
It's probably 15,
Right.
16.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting. I mean, no, I'm pretty sure I mentioned to you, but I have a son. He's 17 now, so he's just sort of going through that, phase in his life with everything. What I find really fascinating is how well informed he seems to be about A, what's going on, what his peers are doing,
Mm,
but B, how well or how strong he seems to be in his knowing of what he wants and what's good for him and what he doesn't, and
mm,
he's okay to say no. So that strength of that internal strength and um, of course I really love that because he doesn't. I
yeah.
don't need to. I need to. I don't need to badger him about any of that. So that's pretty cool, and we talk about all of those things.
Mm,
Um, um, but I wonder, how kids get there. Like as in, I'm glad that he has a strong personality and he can take care of himself, but I also know that it's not like that for all the kids. It's not like that for
right.
all of his friends, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And sometimes environments, well, often environments that kids are in can absolutely influence.
Yeah.
And would you also say that some kids are more prone to being influenced by their peers than others? And it
Oh,
can be such a
yeah.
personality trait.
I definitely think so. But I also think that can change. I mean, I was the person who was
Mm,
influenced heavily by other people, and
right.
now I live a life drastically different from most people in my life.
Mm,
So it can
yeah.
change.
So tell me then, moving away from, this phase, then you talk about how you had your, breakdown to breakthrough. Tell me, when did that happen? What were the set of circumstances that led to that, and then you leaving school for a while?
Yeah,
Talk to
so
us about that.
it was very unexpected for me and for everyone else, which
Right.
made it even more difficult. Um,
Yeah.
but it was um, post well beginning to be post pandemic, I guess.
Right.
Things were starting to open up. We were going to be back in person for classes. I was moving into a new apartment with my friends. I was living in Boston in the city at the time. I was so excited. So I really didn't have any clue that this was going to happen. I was very excited about the things to come
Right.
and kind of starting fresh and all these things.
Mhm.
Um, and probably about a month into being there and kind of starting normal life again, I I I remember the moment. I was in a movie theater with my best friend. I forgot what movie we were watching, but it was a funny movie, and everyone was laughing, and I just had this like sense of loneliness and like just darkness around me. And I a few days went by and I could not shake it, and I was the real sign to me was when I was not able when I wasn't able to do my homework or like focus in class, because school had always been, as I had said, I was always a good student, and school had always been kind of the safety for me. Like I always knew what I was doing, and I was able to that was like for me growing up, that was the one kind of consistent thing, was I really dedicated myself to my schoolwork. So when
Mhm.
I saw that that was slipping, I was like, something's I need help other than what I think I can give myself.
Mm.
So I my mom came up, and she definitely didn't realize how kind of bad it was, I don't think. And dropping out of school was a huge decision because I was always a student. I loved being a student. I loved learning.
Yeah.
Um, and I also had a very specific kind of view of what success was and what my future was going to be and what, what was ahead for me. And dropping out of school was not in my plans at all. So
Okay.
it was definitely a readjustment there for me, and it
Mm.
was not, no one else was expecting it. So that was a whole other thing to deal with, was having to kind of tell people what was happening or hear what their reactions would be. Um, but that ultimately was what happened. And I remember my mom was saying, this was months later when I was a little bit better, but she was saying that when she came to see me to kind of figure things out, because I had called her on the phone and she could tell that I was not okay. So she came up. She thought just for the day. She ended up staying for like 4 days trying to figure this out.
Mhm. Mm.
Um, and she said it, the way I was behaving and the way that I just physically looked, reminded her of exactly how I was when I was 11 years old. And I don't have many memories of that
Right.
age kind of time of my life.
Mhm.
But I was severely depressed then. And so that was kind of her sign also that this was more serious than I think any of us kind of knew.
Mhm. Okay. And so then you decide to drop out of school and take care of yourself?
Yeah, I
I
moved home.
Yeah. Sorry, go.
I moved home with no plans for 4 months, which was also terrifying for me as someone who had overworked myself and needed to stay busy constantly. But I was in therapy twice a week. I was kind of doing all of these other modalities. I guess I took up meditation. I that's actually when I enrolled in my yoga teacher training course, so I was really involved in that. Um, but it was definitely a very focused few months where I could I was able to dive into things that I hadn't wanted to kind of face before.
Mm-hmm. And how did you find um, that journey of 4 months of really spending time with and giving yourself whatever it was? I mean, it's what it sounds like. You gave yourself permission just to heal and um, to do the things that you needed in terms of your mental health and your emotional health and your physical health.
Yeah, I think the first month or so was extremely difficult because even though I had given myself permission, I was still maybe the first 2 months, I was very concerned about what it would look like to other people, um, and
Right. Okay.
what they would say. I was very that's where my mind was at the time, and,
Wow. Okay.
and I was still my sister is still in high school, so I was going she played sports, I would go to her games, and, like, all the parents would be like, "Oh, why are you home?" And I wouldn't let anyone know. I was like, "Oh, I'm just taking a break." Like, I did not wanna talk about it. I did not wanna let people in still that something that I was not okay.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, probably the first 2 months was like that, and then once I really dove deeper into the therapy, into the yoga training, and I through the yoga training, I met a lot of new people, so surrounding myself with those people really helped me, um, and then I was able to kind of I think once people there was a noticeable shift in the way I talked, the way I looked, like, things changed, so it wasn't I couldn't hide it anymore, you know? Um, and then once I towards the end of that journey, I had made the decision to write a book, and that was the writing itself was so therapeutic for me,
Mm.
but that also brought a whole other layer of, like, announcing this to the world that this is what I went through and this is what I'm now doing.
Mm. And here you are talking to us about it, transmitting it into the world. Wow, how courageous. What a journey. It's huge. That step to, yeah, to out yourself. You know, many
Mhm.
years ago, I had always been really spiritual. So I didn't grow up being religious, but I started learning how to meditate when I was 18. So that's
Mm.
back in 1989 when nobody was talking about meditation and nobody was talking about, crystal healing and Reiki healing and yoga or any of those things. You had to almost be a part of some sort of a, spiritual cult in order to talk about those sorts of things. um, and this had always been like my secret friend. And
Mm.
then, even though people sort of knew that I meditated, I never really hid that, but I wasn't open about who I really was and just how much this was a part of my personality, my world, my reality. And so eventually it played such a heavy, like it was such a burden to carry. It
Mm.
became a burden because I wasn't being authentic and I was forever diluting who I was
Yeah.
because I couldn't be honest about who I was, right? And so one day I wrote this article and I literally posted it on Facebook, and that was my sort of gift to myself, like
Mm.
just out of the blue. I just wrote this article and I came out of the spiritual closet.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I may have even called the article that, coming out of the spiritual closet, and just announced my truth to the world. I didn't
Mm.
write a book, but I made that announcement, and it served as it was like I gave the universe permission to then begin to unravel all the bullshit in my life. So
Yeah.
initially, I got really, really great feedback from my friends But as I stepped more into authenticity, a lot of my friends suddenly realized that they didn't necessarily like this new version of Deanna, or Deanna didn't like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know, and so things started to fall away, which then created, a whole nother journey of awakening.
Yeah. And
Mm,
that's real because when you start making changes, um, I found that people were very used to me being a specific way. And
mm,
the second that that changed, no one knew what to do, which I completely understood because I hadn't let anyone in on kind of who the real me was.
mm, mm.
So I totally understood it, and I got that it was confusing and no one really, like, had any idea what was going on. Um, but you have to kinda stick with those changes and you might get mixed you might get a mixed bag of results, and you never know how it's gonna turn out. But
Yeah,
then you can
mixed
kind of
reviews,
yes,
definitely.
exactly. Mixed reviews for sure. But then you kinda see who people will stay, you will learn that people are not meant to be in your life forever.
Mm.
People will come and go. There are people for different seasons of your life. You'll meet new people. Things change. You grow and evolve. So that's part of the journey.
So I want to make an observation right here with what you just said. Those last two statements, or that one long sentence, belongs to someone that's deeply wise and has lived life, right? That's
Mm,
had some trials and tribulations, and they've come to this, knowing within their body. I want to ask you, Anna, is this really something that you know? Is this embodied wisdom inside your body? Or is this just like, sometimes people are still in the process of embodying wisdom. So they regurgitate an intellectual um, statement, something they know in their head, but it hasn't quite landed in their body.
mm.
Where are you with that? Because it's fascinating to me that wisdom could be coming out from, coming from someone that's so young as you. I think it's amazing, but I'm wondering, are you clear about where you are with that?
I am clear that I believe it's true and I know it to be true, but I'm
Mhm.
still struggling with that, letting it actually happen because we
Right.
cling to those people sometimes,
Mm.
even though we know it's not serving us anymore. So I'm still kind of in the process of learning to let go a little bit for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And yeah, that there right there is the human journey. Sometimes that letting go and acceptance process, it's such a huge part of even the way nature works. Like,
Mm,
you just have to have a look at the trees and the seasons. The trees are letting go all the time in
yeah.
order to make room for new seedlings to emerge in the next season. But the human psyche is a little bit special. We have a harder time letting go and just accepting the cycles, the natural rhythm of what you were talking about, which is this, people, seasons. Sometimes not everybody's meant to be with us forever.
Mhm.
Mm,
Yeah. And I that's also something that I've learned and am learning still
mm,
that, I think I got out of those few months of um, dedicating my time to myself, and I went back to school and had other priorities and still was, doing the work, but not as focused as I was before. And there was definitely a part of me that was like, okay, I'm healed. Like, I'm good. Let's go back and get to work. And like, I quickly learned that that's not the way it is. I very quickly realized that.
oh my God, I love
And
your
so that's
honesty. It's
now part of
amazing.
it. It's like the learning never stops, and it's not like these issues are just gonna go away magically.
Mm.
Um, it's more, I think, just the awareness of them that helps.
Yeah. So then you have this extraordinary, these extraordinary changes that happen in your life. And, it's you and it's your life, and you make some decisions. And I'm guessing you were able to observe just how much your life was changing and how much you were changing, and your reality changes as a result of you changing from within. And then you decide to write a book.
Yeah.
Tell us about the book.
It was I remember being on the phone with the director of the program that I was in that kind of helped me with the idea and everything. And I was like, I kind of have this idea, but I'm dealing with a lot. I'm about to transfer to a new school. Like I don't really know. This doesn't feel like the right time. I don't think I can handle it right now. And he was like, there's never going to be a right time to do this. And I was like, you're right. Okay, let's do it. So then I was like, okay, I'm fully in. And yeah, I mean, writing a book while being in university, while working part-time with internships, it's hard. And that was a whole learning experience, was like figuring out where I was putting my time and energy into. And I wasn't going out as much. I had so much going on, and it's not that I really loved what I was doing. I loved the writing. I loved the work that I was doing. So it's not something that I dreaded. I really loved it, but there's still hard decisions to make about what you're going to miss out on. And there are people who are not going to be happy with those decisions. So it was kind of definitely a test to setting boundaries and time management and all of those kind of skills that came into play there.
And so what is the book about?
The book is about, the full title is For Your 20s, A Guide to Staying Connected Amidst the Chaos. And that's really what it is. It's a collection of my experiences, stories from my life, stories from those I've interviewed, along with research that really backs up kind of whatever the story that I share tells, which for me is always kind of impactful. And I some people gravitate towards the stories, some gravitate towards the numbers and the data. So I really wanted to include both and kind of weave them together in a way. But it's about, life today, mental health, social media, all these things that we're dealing with in this generation. And yeah, it's really just a kind of a raw, vulnerable take on life.
And how was it writing? I mean, as it is, writing is such an intimate process, because when I write, it seems like I'm purging my soul. It's like a soul thing for me. My heart and my soul, very, like, I have to, for me, it's like that dimension in terms of writing comes first. And then the left brain, mental, analytical, how did I construct this sentence? Is it like that comes later?
Yeah.
The writing is like this purging or the channeling of information from somewhere deep within me, it seems to me. I'm not saying that that's like that for you, but I'm imagining that when you're doing that for yourself and you're writing about your life, and then on top of that, you've got, all of those things going on. How did you manage, Anna?
It was very difficult. And there was definitely a learning curve, because the writing, I agree that it's a very intimate process, and it really kind of brings up all these old emotions. You're like kind of reliving everything that you're writing about. So it was learning how to balance those, because I'd be writing about, the darkest times of my past, and then going to my accounting class right after. Like, there was a very stark kind of change. And so it was I had to try to compartmentalize things, but I also didn't want to completely shut off my feelings.
Yeah.
So I think it was learning how to balance that.
Mhm.
Um, and it was also a very good way for me to process things going on in real time, because I was still, when I first started writing this book, I was still deeply in my breakdown time, and it definitely helped me to heal a lot of things.
Mm. So, can you share with us just specifically? You've already touched on this a little bit, but specifically, what is therefore your, your mental, emotional, physical maintenance? How do you take care of your mind and your body and your heart, like in this process? What is your, do you have like a self-care regime or some sort of a, yeah, talk to us
I'm
about
I'm very, very intense with my routines.
that.
And now everyone in my life knows this, so they don't get in the
Right.
get in the way of it anymore.
Don't, yeah.
They've
Don't
made
you
that
get in the way
mistake.
of my self-care. We should make, yeah, you should have a t-shirt. You
I
should make
should
a t-shirt for that. Don't you dare.
That's how I am with it. And
Yeah.
it is. It's like it's vital for me. And I wake up super early, which is not a typical thing for someone my age.
Mhm.
But I use the quiet of that time is so important for me. Before like anyone else. And I have 3 roommates, so before anyone gets up, I have like 3 hours to myself. And I use that time to I I I meditate still, I practice yoga on my own still, I journal still, like I really did carry a lot of what I started in when I moved home into my daily life, and have found ways to implement it even though I don't have the crazy amount of free time that I had then.
Mm.
But you make it for things that matter. So it I made it in the morning, and I it's kind of a non-negotiable for me.
Yeah,
Um, but
I
with
love
that,
that.
I go to bed way earlier than most people my age do.
Mm.
So
Mm.
it's kind of you know, you create your reality, and that's what I've done. And it's really it's been a test for me to kind of withhold and uphold that kind of
Mm.
lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah.
When not everyone around you does the same thing.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's quite amazing. So, so what is early for people your age? Are we talking 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock?
I'm usually a 5 a.m. wake up.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that is nice and early. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty early.
Yeah,
If I'm
that's really
lucky. It
nice.
doesn't always go that way though.
Sure, right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I agree with you. I love that time first thing in the morning. I feel like I'm getting up with the day, and
Yes.
it's such an amazing way to set up your day, to slowly ease into back into your body from, 4D, dream realm or astro travel realm or whatever, back into
Mhm.
this physical body, good stretch, start the day, set your intention. Amazing. In many
Yeah.
ways, the most important time of the day or of the
Agreed.
present moment. Yeah. Yeah, it's so lovely. Yeah, good for you. That's amazing. I'm so glad to hear that. And again, just in case people didn't hear you loud and clear, how important is self-care? Let's tell
It's
that again.
it is it is a non-negotiable. That should you should anyone
Mm,
who's listening, if you don't have some type of practice or ritual or routine that is only for you,
mm,
think it doesn't have to be long. It could be, I always say, like, the 3 minutes when you're brewing your coffee in the morning. Like, just take that time to just be and stand there and like just be with yourself.
yeah.
It could be that,
Yeah.
3 minutes. It could be a minute. It doesn't have to be anything long, but just those small moments of mindfulness are so important.
Mm. I laugh with my clients. I often talk about, when you're on the toilet, don't take your phone with you. Just do some visualizing and create your day.
Yeah, that would
You're
work.
already there. You don't have to compromise anything else. You're already there. Yeah, fancy that. Take the interview to toilet humor. How's that?
If it works, it works, you know? Like,
Well,
get
this
that
is
time
it,
whenever
right?
you can.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Doesn't matter. So you don't. So yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's amazing, and it makes all the difference in the world because even physiologically, just a quarter of, the larger intake of oxygen clears the brain. It allows the heart to function at more peace, like just physiologically. So it reduces those anxiety behaviors, when we shallow breathe because we are so anxious and worried and stressed about everything, reduces the reduction of cortisol hormone. But just on the physiological level, the benefits of just mindfully being present and still in the moment to create, something wonderful for yourself just makes such a difference. Such a massive difference in this busy, 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 go, 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 go world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. It's really amazing that we get to have this conversation about this sort of stuff, regardless of what we do in the world, that aspect of self and, working to be at your highest and best potential is, regardless of background, regardless of age, regardless of gender, regardless of geographic location. This is the kind of message that's coming up over and over and over again as I'm speaking to all these amazing people, including yourself now with this podcast. So I'm really grateful for you to share that with us. So now you have this amazing book. It's going to be available in paperback in 3 weeks, as you told me. It's available as an ebook online. I'm going to get you to tell us in a minute where people can get it, and then I will also will share it in the comments, etc. As as we air and everything goes ahead. But tell me about your intention for the book. What would you like people to go away with once they've read your book?
My intention for this book is really just to start a conversation. I want to hear what people think, and I want people to, disagree with me, please, and let's hear like what you think. I think it's really important to be open with those conversations. But ultimately, my goal with this was to encourage people to build that connection to self. I think especially at this age, it's something that can often be overlooked or as something that, like, we don't have to do that right now. Like we could do it later. It's not for this time, but I have found like so much benefit in it. And I couldn't help but not share it. Like it seems so important to me, and I really think everyone could benefit.
That's really amazing. So, so the ebook is available now. How do people get a hold of the ebook?
It is available wherever books are sold right now. On Amazon for this first month, it's on sale for 99 cents. So it's accessible. Get it for yourself, get it for friends. And then after that first month, once the paperback comes out, which will also be available wherever books are sold, that price will go up a little bit. Yeah.
Yep. Amazing. So I'm going to definitely go online and get the book because I think it's, first of all, I'd really like to read it. Secondly, I want to support you with this journey because I think it's really important. It's really wonderful that you're doing this. So I've got it written down. So I'll do that. And so I'll contact you if because what I have found sometimes when I buy books, because I'm buying from Australia, something goes on with Amazon that's a little bit strange. So, anyway, we'll be in touch, right? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely let me know with questions.
Yeah. So then moving forward, what is this version of Anna doing? This version today? What are you up to? What's happening with your world? I mean, other than publishing a book, what are you working towards? What are your new hopes, your new dreams, your new goals?
Yeah, I have found that my focus right now is to be open to anything that's kind of in alignment with me. And I've in the past been easy to kind of not be aware of what's in alignment and what's not. And that's definitely something that I'm focusing on now. I'm graduating in a few months, so I'll be kind of moving again and starting a whole other new thing. I've had opportunities from this book, like internships with people doing really amazing things. So I'm really just excited for anything and everything at this point. I'm so excited for where things are heading, and ultimately I'll be in something communications wise. I'll probably still be writing, and I'll probably still be doing stuff on social media. So yeah.
I've seen some of your posts because we are connected on social media, especially on Instagram, and I really love some of the things that you post about and how you share about your young life and your own experiences. It just has that, yeah, really. It's fascinating for me. It's got that really youthful kind of flavor that I really admired that I can't quite pull off at 50
You can
something.
pull it off.
Well, not at 20 something, not as a 20 something, but not anymore. Anyway, that's, I mean, I've had my time, so it's cool. It's not like I'm, grieving anything or whatever. That's, yeah, that's not a thing. But I'm just saying that it has that really beautiful, youthful flavor. And you post with your, footage with your dog as well, right? Yeah. Tell us about your dog. What, he,
I love
she,
her.
name? Oh,
She,
her.
yes.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's I have a dog like with my parents named Millie, who I have like practically raised. And I have a dog here at school with me. So I have dogs everywhere.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And so her name is Millie?
Yes, her name is Millie, and then the one that lives with me here at this house is named Peach.
Oh, Paige and Millie. How cute. Very cute. And so you'll be graduating in a few months' time, and you will graduate in what?
I will be graduating with a degree in communications.
Uh-huh. Okay. And um, when the paperback comes out, I'm sure you have some sort of a marketing plan or something, but seriously, how how you say that you want to start a conversation?
Mm.
Where do you want to start a conversation? Do you want to be talking to people on social media, or will you have like a designated? Do you have like a website or something where people can connect with you, and you're building like a community of people that can discuss,
Yeah.
things that come up as a result of reading a book? How's this going to look?
Yeah. I mean, I'm super responsive on Instagram and I read every DM that I get. So please reach out to me if you're on there. And I do have a website it should be I'm waiting for it to be up literally in an hour. So that's up soon.
Oh,
Um
yay!
and yeah, I found it's been really interesting even just in kind of the pre-sale process and like having early readers and beta readers and all of that. And it seems like there's a wide range of people that this resonates with, whether it's people actually in their 20s or parents or educators. Like there's a lot of different groups that I've talked to. So I'm just excited to kind of share that and have, I want parents to talk about this with their kids. I want, teachers to touch on some of these topics. Like I think it's important in a broader aspect outside of just,
Yeah.
just me.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah. Yeah, amazing. Okay. So, um, in closing of this conversation, what would you like to leave the audience with? Either, again, just maybe, if you want to repeat something we've already said or something new.
I would say, don't be afraid to ask for help. We all need help at some point in our lives. It's normal. And don't be afraid to get to know the person you are, because it's scary and intimidating at first, but it's incredible once you kind of break down that wall.
That's amazing. And very wise once again, Anna Rodin.
Thanks.
The wisest 20-year-old ever, or 20, however old you are. I'll just call you Yoda from now on. I'm kidding. Okay. All right, my beautiful darling. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I so appreciate you. I love the work that you're doing. I'm totally cheering for you. Go, Anna, and go and influence, be an influencer and influence everybody with your wonderful work. And God only knows we need more of this in the world. And, you guys are coming up right behind us. You're going to be making all the big decisions for the world very soon. So we need more of this. This is amazing. This is huge congratulations. And I'm really looking forward to reading your book. It's going to be amazing. I'm certain of it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. This has been so much fun.
Good. Many laughs. I'm really glad that we were able to talk. Okay, so don't go anywhere for just a minute. I'm just going to say a couple of closing words, and then we'll end the podcast, and then we can have a bit of a chat just between you and me. Okay, my darling?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so where are we? Okay. So, my loves, I hope you enjoyed that. Isn't Anna just amazing, fabulous? What a woman, what a young lady to be in this world. I'm so happy to have had this conversation. I hope you've also enjoyed it. And if you have enjoyed this podcast, then please, I will be sharing a link to a way that you can support the podcast. You can literally buy me a coffee. Just donate a little bit of yourself to support this podcast. I would really appreciate it. It goes towards, of course, continuing to produce this work and just this work. Thank you for being here. Much love, and we will see you next time.